The Oklahoma Sooners have a bit of a quarterback dilemma going on with the 2026 recruiting class. We're going to discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners 2026 recruiting class is in a really interesting spot right now. Jaden O'Neal, the 4-star quarterback, has been committed since last summer, and Oklahoma is pursuing Bowe Bentley. Part of Daniel Odom's commitment to Oklahoma, I think, somewhat hinges upon Jaden O'Neal, and yet it doesn't feel like anything is solidified at quarterback. Jaden O'Neal's got official visits set up, even though he's still committed to Oklahoma. Oklahoma's heavily pursuing Bowe Bentley. I think they'd like to have both quarterbacks as part of the class, but that just doesn't seem like that's going to be the reality by the time we get to the early signing period. Josh McCuistion of Sooner Scoop put out a really, really good article on Tuesday, just talking about how this whole thing just feels weird, and it's probably heading towards the likelihood that they're not going to have both quarterbacks as part of the class.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like to me, if there's anything on this, everybody needs to just lay their cards on the table. That's kind of, I think we're at this point now. It's starting to get weird. Yeah. And not even on the O'Neal side of it. It's more on the Oklahoma side. Got to call them out on this. If you don't want the kid, if you feel like you're going to go ahead and move forward, move on, then do that. Because based upon the interviews, now this is only one-sided, of course. We're only really hearing from the O'Neals because they're the only ones that's really answering this question, is what the communication is like and how everybody's talking. And it doesn't feel like Oklahoma's making all the warm and fuzzies happen. When you're recruiting a quarterback, you need to make the warm and fuzzies exist. If the warm and fuzzies ain't existing, then ain't no reason for a quarterback to feel like they want to be there. Because remember, when Jaden was initially recruited, he was the only quarterback that was expected to be in the class. And now he's not. And if that's the case, you need to have that conversation and say, hey, man, we really do want to have multiple quarterbacks. Or it's, we think we want to go a different direction. And that's okay. If that's what you want to do, there's nothing wrong with that. But you got to tell the kid that way, which I'm very happy that he's actually doing these visits, John, because Jaden O'Neal needs to make sure he has options. And I know a lot of schools are very interested in him because he is talented. A lot of schools like what he's able to do. And it does seem like that Ben Arbuckle has a particular aesthetic he wants. He wants a quarterback that's a lot more mobile. Like Jaden can run, he just doesn't really do it. He usually uses his arm. Similar to kind of like Shedeur Sanders did. I talked about that before. Same thing with Cam Ward. They ran when they needed to, but they typically always launched that thing. And that's Jaden's similar game. But it feels like Ben wants the dual threat capabilities to go in his offense. And like I said, if that's the case, man, let the kid know. Let's just go ahead and let that be done.
Yeah, it just feels like it's stringing along right now. And, Oklahoma's kind of keeping Jaden O'Neal part of the class or keeping him around as a backup plan, as a just in case, which is a shame because the kid is really, really good. Yeah. And, there will come a time when this gets resolved. When that happens, who knows? Jaden, he stayed committed to Oklahoma after they fired Seth Luttrell. Seth Luttrell was his primary recruiter. Yep. He still wants to be a part of the Oklahoma Sooners, it seems like. It's just, it doesn't necessarily seem like Oklahoma is feeling the same way. Now on Bowe Bentley, he's getting offers all over the place. And he spoke with the folks over there at On3, or was it Rivals? I can't remember. Rivals. Thank you. Talked about how, he's got a growing connection with Coach Arbuckle. He's new to the program, but seeing his history with quarterbacks in the past, like Cam Ward and John Mateer, showing me how I can fit into the offense means a lot. having Heisman winners in past years, obviously about Oklahoma. And here's what he said about the offense. They're quick offensively, a high tempo offense, and the way they run things is similar to ours here down at Salina. They want to dominate. They want to attack. They're not going to hold back and try to put up 50 points on you. So, I mean, Bowe Bentley seems impressed with what he's seen with Ben Arbuckle and with Oklahoma. It's just, again, that's going to be a big time recruitment because the top programs across the country, LSU, Georgia, are in on Bowe Bentley as well. And you're going to have to win a significant recruiting battle if you're going to win his services.
Yeah. Everybody wants, honestly, both of them. They both have a large enough crowd of teams that know that they're talented and they would go to either one of the two. So Oklahoma's going to have to, be smart about this. Go ahead and buckle down and make a decision. Now, if they're going to heavily recruit both, up that communication with Jaden and let him know that you're still our dude and we would love to have you. Stop playing around. We're kind of past the point of playing around when it comes to when it comes to Jaden O'Neal. If you want him as your other quarterback, if you want to do two, please do what you need to do to work closely with him to make sure that he's comfortable and he understands that he is truly appreciated and he's wanted. I think that's where most of this comes from. It's the making him feel like he's a dude that you want to have at quarterback. You got to make your quarterback feel warm and fuzzy. I don't care what anybody says. That's just how recruiting goes. You need your dudes to feel good about what's going on and make him feel like he wants to be. You want him there.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then he'll want to be there.
I mean, every prospect out there wants to be wanted.
Yes.
Like they want to feel like they're a top priority. You hear that from, players all the time. They make me feel like I'm a priority. They make me feel like I'm a priority. That kind of stuff matters. And, you don't have to have that. If Oklahoma is the place you want to be, you're going to go there regardless of whether or not that they make you feel like a priority. At the same time, when you're a coveted prospect and you're going to have options across the country at the Power 4 level, there's going to be other schools that make you feel like a priority that also will have an opportunity to develop you into a really good college quarterback or an NFL quarterback. And Jaden O'Neal, Bowe Bentley, they both have the tools to be very successful at the collegiate level. It's just, where's the best fit going to be? Where's the program that's going to make you feel like you're the number one priority? And right now, it doesn't seem like Oklahoma's doing a great job at that on the quarterback recruitment as far as with Jaden O'Neal's, as far as he's concerned. But it just makes it especially awkward considering Jaden just moved to Mustang and transferred from California to Mustang. And it's just a weird dynamic and a weird situation. And again, hopefully it gets resolved sometime in the next few months, like as the summer approaches and, official visits are happening and Champion Barbecue and all these things are going down, that there's a little bit more of a resolution to all this, because you don't want to string kids along. You don't want to string families along. You don't want to start creating that reputation. And I don't think it's going to get too much further down the road before Brent Venables, Ben Arbuckle have just a clear and honest conversation with everybody that's involved.
Yeah, I agree. I think that somebody level heads are going to come in here. Hopefully we'll have a decision or at least a idea of direction within the next month. I'd say because June is when you have OV season. So I'm expecting something to happen within that point. And I think that I know Jaden and the O'Neals want to be at Oklahoma. Heck, they're at Mustang for a reason. They want to be closer to here. They want to recruit for Oklahoma. They want to play at Oklahoma. They just want to feel like Oklahoma wants them as well. And the best thing that Oklahoma can do is show the love and let him be the heavy recruiter that he is. I mean, he's got kids that wants to follow him. He has kids that like the idea of playing ball with him. So Oklahoma needs to leverage that. They need to lean into it and have this elite talent on their roster. So we'll see what happens over the next, like I said, couple of months. Hopefully Oklahoma and either Jaden O'Neal, once Bowe Bentley, if we win the commitment, that's probably going to be a good sign of determining what's going to happen next. We'll probably get a decision by somebody as far as if there's going to be a decommitment or not, and what Ben Arbuckle wants to do and how he wants to run the offense. We just need. It's going to hinge on Bowe Bentley, and it sounds like Bowe Bentley's probably close to leaning into committing to Oklahoma, probably around the end of OV season.
Yeah, a lot of players want to make their decision before their senior year, so we should have an answer. I say should. There's a likelihood that we'll get an answer on what Bowe Bentley's collegiate future looks like over the next 3-4 months. And that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. So hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John 9 Williams, and you can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. Mm-hmm. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner. I'm glad we got another defensive tackle, though. That is a big pickup.
Stack the DTs.